Hi friends, welcome back. Or if you are tuning into the channel for the first time, welcome to the channel. So in today's video, we are going to be doing a pattern review as well as a fabric review. And the pattern review is of the Kalle shirt by Closet Core Patterns. And for the fabric review, I am going to be sharing with you my experience with this Minerva exclusive fabric that was sponsored to me by Minerva, and it is called the Brushstrokes fabric. It's a very popular fabric. They have it in different fabric contents. So I was sponsored the cotton sateen variation, but you can get this in a viscose challis as well as a linen, and I'll provide links to those in the description box below. But for this video, we are talking about the cotton sateen, and I will be giving you my review of that. And I'm also going to be giving you my review of the Kalle shirt. So this pattern by Closet Core is a few years old. So I think it's about 3 or 4 years old. And so there are a lot of pattern reviews as well as sew-alongs out there on YouTube. And so if you're interested in this pattern, I would encourage you to look up this on YouTube and see about the different sew-alongs and the pattern reviews that are out there, because there are more reviews that you can actually see to get more information about this. So I really like the shirt pattern, and like I said, it's about 3 or 4 years old. So if you are not familiar with Minerva, it is a company, a fabric company that is based out of the UK. And I have been a brand ambassador for Minerva for about 3, almost 4 years. And so I have been sewing with their beautiful fabrics for some time. And I'll give you some examples of some of the things that I have sewed, some of the fabrics that they have sponsored me, and you can get an idea of what their fabrics are like. I absolutely love this company. Just this past year, I have started to buy a lot of Minerva fabrics myself. And I just absolutely love this company because they have really great, good quality fabrics. And there's no exception for this piece that I am sharing with you today. I absolutely love this fabric. So let's talk a little bit about this fabric. So again, it's called the Brushstroke fabric. It's a cotton sateen. It's on a wide fabric. So I think it's anywhere from 55 to 58 inches wide. So you get a pretty good wide range there. Now the fabric is 19.99 pounds, but in US dollars, I believe that's like 24 US dollars a yard. And so it's not your inexpensive fabric. However, for the price, it is a very, very good quality fabric. Like I said before, it's a cotton sateen, so it has a soft hand, but it also has like a really slight shine on it because it's a cotton sateen, and it's light to medium weight. It's stiff because it's cotton, but it's not like really stiff. It has a really soft, stiff drape. So I really like that about the fabric, because I don't really like garments that are too stiff. So I absolutely like that about this fabric. So I've washed this about 3 times already in the wash. I washed it beforehand. I washed it afterwards, to get the markings out, and washed it again and did some final pressing and put starch on it, and I did some final pressing of the garment, and it is absolutely beautiful. Now, while I can't say that this is a wrinkle resistant or wrinkle free type fabric, I will say this: if you are someone who don't like ironing, I love ironing. I don't know why, but I love pressing garments. I find it therapeutic. But if you are not someone who like to press garments every single time you wash them, I would say that this, even though you might have to press it, you might have to do some light pressing. So it is a really nice piece. I absolutely love this. So it came in a kit. And so with that kit, Minerva sent needles, thread, buttons, interfacing, so anything that I needed to actually complete the garment. Now, the buttons that they sent, I think they were black and gray, like a blackish, grayish color. And so I decided to put those to the side and to use these icy blue buttons, which I think are absolutely gorgeous. And I think it adds to the character of the dress. And so I decided to get those. Now the pattern calls for 1/2 inch buttons, but I use 5/8 of an inch buttons. So they're slightly bigger, but they still fit on the button placket nonetheless perfectly. So that's what I used for the garment here. And it calls for, let's see, you have a different amount of, so with each project and each view, it just depends on which view you select, and that will determine how many buttons you need. And so for the crop variation, you need 5. For the tunic, there's 8. And for the dress, there's 9. And for the popover placket, there's 4. So you do have 3 views, but you also have for, I believe, view C, you can make it shorter or longer. And so that's why it's a difference between like the tunic and the dress. So I use 11 buttons, so I have 2 additional buttons on my garment than what is called for the view that I chose, which is view C. And the reason why I did that is because I wanted to make sure that there was no gaping or anything like that, or pulling near the fullest part of my bust area. So I wanted to have some extra buttons in that area so that it can lay. Unfortunately, I didn't achieve that goal as much as I wanted to. And that has more to do with the fact that the dress was drafted for a B cup rather than a D cup. And I am a D. And I'm going to go ahead and get into the pattern review portion of the video and talk a little bit more in detail about the features of the pattern, the size that I chose, the fabric requirements, and all that stuff, so that you can get an idea of the size that I chose and how it lays and drapes on my body. Again, keep in mind that my final bust measurements are 39 to 40 inches for the bust, and I am a D cup. So keep that in mind, because again, this shirt is drafted for a B cup. So you may need to do an FBA if you want to do this. I did not do an FBA. I went the next size up, and I'll tell you what my experience was like doing that. So first, let's talk about the features of the pattern and the different views and what I chose before we get into the size. So for view A, this is your crop top top that has the collar band. So it's a band collar, and you have a hidden button placket. And for the back, you do have a yoke for your back. And underneath that yoke, you're doing a inverted pleat back there. So for view B, this is your tunic with your standard collar, your popover placket, and a box pleat for the back underneath that yoke. And then for view C, this is your shirt dress with your standard collar, your standard placket, and your box pleat. So this is a variation that I did, except for I did a couple things different. So instead of the box pleat, I did an inverted pleat, and it does call for sleeve bands. And so you do have the option to do a sleeve band. And then it also has, for view C, it has a pocket on the, what is that? I think that's the left side of the body, but I did not put the pocket on at all. So for all variations, you have the shirt tail hem. So for the crop version, you do get hem facings. And so I think it's important to use those hem facings, because you will see the back of the hem, because the shirt has a high, low design and style. So for the front of the garment, the shirt tail hem is really high, and then the back, it's lower. And so you will see your hem back there. And so you might want to use either bias binding or those hem facings that they provide in the pattern here. Now for views B and C, they don't call for those hem facings. They actually have you use bias binding. Now you can either do purchase bias binding, or they have a pattern inside the envelope that you can use to make your own bias binding, and they give you instructions on how to assemble the pieces together to get your long scripts to complete your bias binding. So they do have instructions on how to do bias binding as well. In terms of the level of this pattern, it is for intermediate to advanced sewists. However, I do think that if you have some experience sewing buttons, buttonholes, and those types of things, putting on button plackets, and you're an advanced beginner, I definitely think that you can actually sew this up and you will be fine. So in terms of the instructions, I felt like the instructions were really good, except for instructions on how to do the standard button placket. So they do give you instructions on how to do the hidden button placket as well as the popover button placket, but they don't give you any instructions on how to do the standard button placket, which I thought was lacking. So if you are someone who actually needs instructions to actually get through a process, especially this type of a process, you're not going to find instructions on the standard button placket. At least I didn't really see any mentioning of it in the instructions. And so I thought that that was a little bit odd. But other than that, I think that it's a really great pattern, and it does give you instructions on how to assemble everything else. And it's really good in that respect. So in terms of size ranges, on the back of the envelope, it has the size range listed and the chart size here. So it's a size 0 to 20. And just giving you an idea in terms of like your bust size, that's 31 inches for your bust for a size 0. And for your waist, it's 24 inches for the waist for the size 0. Going up to the size 20 is 46 inches for your bust and 39 inches for your waist. Now, for your finished garment measurements, now you find that inside the instruction manual. And for the finished garment measurement, I'm going to go ahead and list that off here so you can get an idea of how the garment drapes on me. Again, keep in mind that I am a D cup. And so for the finished garment measurement for the size 0, that's a 40 inch for the bust, and going up to the size 20, that's 55 inches for the bust. So I would have to say, in terms of like the finished garment measurements and the listed sizes on here, I did not feel as though that was accurate for my size. But again, I am a D cup, and so it could be that I'm feeling a lack of inches for that because of my D cup. So initially I chose a size 8 when I did my mock-up. And so for my mock-up, it's listing here for a size 8 is 44 inches for the bust. So I did do that for the mock-up, and when I did the mock-up, I felt like, I could stand to have a little bit more room. Now, keep in mind, my finished garment measurement is 39 to 40 inches, but again, I am a D cup. So they're saying that a size 8 is 44. So I should have had at least 4 inches of ease. Even with the D cup, I should have been able to feel some of that, but I just didn't feel that, especially in the front. And the back, I had a little bit excess loose fabric, but I wasn't really feeling it a lot in the front. And so I decided to go a size up. And so for my final garment, I selected the size 10, and this is 45.5 inches for the bust. Now, again, I still feel like I could use a little bit more room in my bust area. But again, that could be because I am a D cup and the pattern is possibly drafted for a B cup. Now, I do see that I do have a lot of excess room in the back, but that could be either the pattern design, or it could be the fact that I actually lengthened the garment. So I did lengthen the garment by 5 inches because I wanted it to be more of a dress than a tunic. And even though for view C, it's saying that it's a shirt dress, it does come a little bit higher than I would like. And so I wanted the front to be a little bit below my knee. And so I did lengthen the garment by 5 inches. And again, that could be where that excess fabric is coming from in the back. Nearest the small of my back. So near the small of my back, you'll see that there is some excess fabric. And so that could be because I lengthened the garment, but it also could be a combination of the pattern design. So I think it's maybe a combination of both the pattern design and also because I lengthened the garment. But nevertheless, I'm still not feeling that 5 inches of ease that the garment is supposed to have in that bust area. I'm just not feeling that at all. Because again, The size 10, actually, it's supposed to be more like 8 to 9 inches of ease, because the size 10 for the size chart, the body measurements is saying that it's 36.5 inches for the bust, but for the finished garment measurement is saying that it's 45.5. So it's 8 to 9 inches of ease that is supposed to be in the garment, and I'm just not seeing that there. I don't know. I'm just not seeing that. In terms of fabric recommendations for view A, that's your crop top. For a 45-inch wide fabric, you need anywhere from 2 to 2¼ yards of fabric. And for your 58-inch wide fabric, there's 1.5 yards to 2 yards of fabric, depending on the size that you choose. So this is for view A. For view B, for your 45-inch wide fabric, it's 2¼ yard of fabric for size 0, all the way up to 2¾ yards of fabric for your size 20. And again, that's for your 45-inch wide fabric. For your 58-inch wide fabric, it's 1¾ yards of fabric, and that goes up to 2¼ yard of fabric. And for view C, for 45 inches, 2¾ to 3 yards. And then for 58-inch wide is 2 yards to 2.5 yards of fabric. So that is your fabric recommendations there, and the yardage that you would need for the project. Now for your pattern pieces here, again, I did view C and I did lengthen the garment. I would say, so Minerva sponsored me 3 meters of fabric, and I think I used maybe 2.5, and that's with my adjustment. So again, I lengthened my pattern pieces by 5 inches to make it longer. So, and I used 2.5. So it's not that bad in terms of how much fabric you would need. In terms of pattern pieces, I used the front, which is cut on. So you could either do, again, the popover placket, the hidden button placket, or the shirt dress. So for the one that I did, view C, I did the front, so that's 2 pattern pieces. The back is cut on fold. Then you have the back yoke, so that's 3 pieces right there. Then you have the top collar and the under collar, so that's 5 pieces. Then you have your collar stand, that's 6. And then you have your front sleeve band and your back sleeve band. So that's about 8 pieces there. And if you do your bias binding, that's another piece. So you're working with anywhere from, I would say, 7 to 9 pattern pieces, depending on what you choose to use. You also have the pocket piece there, but I omitted the pocket piece. So again, it's not that bad in terms of how many pattern pieces that you're using for the view that I chose. I enjoyed this pattern. I really did. There's not anything that was bad about the pattern. I felt that it sewed really well, and I was able to get through the project really smoothly and easily. I didn't have to do any other adjustments except for lengthening the pattern. And in the future, I would do an FBA for sure, so that I could get more room in the bust area. But other than that, I thought that it was absolutely fantastic, and it sewed really well. If you have made this pattern before, let us know in the comment section below, and also let us know what kind of fabric you used and all that stuff, and if you had a positive experience with this pattern. Thank you all for tuning in to today's video. If you found this video helpful or useful, please make sure that you give it a big thumbs up, and I can't wait to talk to you all in the next video. Bye.